Hello and welcome. This video is the second part of Narita Brian's story. You can enjoy it starting from this part, but I recommend watching the first part first for the full experience. Now let's begin. In 1994, Narita Brian dominated the classic Triple Crown races with overwhelming strength, becoming only the fifth horse in Japanese racing history to achieve this feat. Now let us look back on his racing career after claiming the Triple Crown. With the Triple Crown secured, Narita Brian turned to his first clash with older horses, the 1994 Arima Kinen. In the fan vote, he drew a staggering 178,471 ballots, an overwhelming show of support. On race day, he started at impossibly short odds of 1.2. So dominant was his popularity that the second favorite, Nehai Caesar, drifted all the way out to 12.3. The field also featured Rice Shower, famed as a giant killer, and Hishi Amazon, the strongest filly of her era. In the race, Twin Turbo blasted off from the start, setting a furious pace. Brian stayed clear on the outside, cruising comfortably in pursuit. By the time they rounded the final corner, he had reeled in the runaway leader along with the rest of the pack, and as they straightened for home, he was already in front. Hishi Amazon and the others gave chase, but Narita Brian drew clear, winning by 3 lengths to claim the Grand Prix in emphatic style. He had proven, beyond doubt, that the strength of a Triple Crown horse could also conquer the best of the older generation. That year, Narita Brian compiled an astonishing record of 7 starts, 6 wins, and 4 G1 victories. For his achievements, he was named the 1994 JRA Horse of the Year, as well as the best 4-year-old colt. In the Horse of the Year voting, he received 171 out of 172 ballots, with just a single vote going to North Flight. It was, for all intents and purposes, a unanimous choice. As for best 4-year-old colt, he swept the category with a perfect score. His total earnings for the year reached 712.8 million yen, the highest annual prize money ever recorded in Japanese racing history at the time. Truly, he had become a presence worthy of the title, the Monster. One of the biggest storylines surrounding Narita Brian, the one fans most eagerly anticipated, was the long-awaited showdown with his elder brother, Biwa Hayahide. Even Yuji Nohira, the legendary trainer of Triple Crown winner Simbali Rudolph, described Brian's Satsuki show as a battle between an adult and a child, and his derby as a horse in another dimension entirely. Within his generation, Brian stood in a class of his own. Meanwhile, his older brother Biwa Hayahide was equally dominant, winning all 3 of his races that spring, including 2 G1 titles. The prospect of a strongest brothers duel became a dream for racing fans. But that dream was cruelly shattered. Just 1 week before the Kika show, Biwa Hayahide suffered an injury while contesting the Tenno Show Autumn and was forced into retirement. The ultimate sibling showdown was never to be. This gave the Kika show that followed a special meaning. It became the stage for the younger brother, Narita Brian, to complete his Triple Crown. And in the final stretch, as victory became all but certain, announcer Kiyoshi Sugimoto's repeated call, "The younger brother is safe, the younger brother is safe," became an iconic moment, remembered to this day. After capturing the Arima Kinen, Narita Brian was not sent out to pasture. Instead, he continued training at the Rito Training Center, with his sights set firmly on the Tenno Show Spring. Though the Osaka High was briefly considered as his seasonal debut, trainer Okubo decided otherwise. Believing that Brian should reappear in a race with a slower, steadier pace to ease him back, he chose the long-distance Hanshin Daishoten as the starting point for the new campaign. In January 1995, due to the devastation of the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake, the Hanshin Daishoten was held at Kyoto Racecourse instead of its usual venue. On that stage, Narita Brian went off as an overwhelming favorite, so dominant that his odds were 1.0, meaning a win bet would only return the original stake. In the race, he produced the fastest closing 3 furlongs of his career, a blistering 33.9 seconds. Once he accelerated in the stretch, he simply ran away from the field, delivering a resounding victory worthy of a Triple Crown champion, winning by 7 lengths. Yet behind the glory, misfortune awaited. Just 11 days later, on March 23rd, he was diagnosed with accumulated fatigue in his back. Though the stable staff tried to keep him active with light training aimed at the Tenno-sho spring, further trouble struck. On April 7th, Narita Brian developed arthritis in his right hip joint. With an expected recovery of 2 months, Connections had no choice but to abandon their spring target. After the diagnosis, Brian spent about a month resting in his stable before being sent to Hayata Farm in Nikapu for recuperation. Later in July, he was transferred to Hakodate Racecourse, where he underwent a careful 2-month rehabilitation. Even after returning to the Rito Training Center in September, his training was deliberately light. Avoiding heavy workloads, concerns persisted that he was not in top condition, and doubts about his readiness grew louder. Still, trainer Okubo pressed forward, deciding to run him in the Tenno-sho Autumn. On race day, fans held out hope for a revival, backing him as the favorite once again. But in the stretch, Brian faltered, fading dramatically to finish a dismal 12th. The once-feared monster seemed but a shadow of himself. Criticism followed, with some voices protesting, a Tenno-sho is not to be used as a training exercise. In the following Japan Cup, many believed Narita Brian would finally return to form. Sent off as the favorite once again, expectations were high. Yet in the stretch, he failed to produce his usual surge, finishing 6th. In the Arima Kinen that followed, he finally surrendered the role of race favorite. Although he made a late run down the stretch, he could only manage 4th, still unable to return to the winner's circle. Thus, in his comeback season, Narita Brian could no longer display the overwhelming dominance that once defined him. Trainer Okubo later reflected on the situation. Narita Brian was such an intelligent horse. I think there were times when he deliberately held himself back, as if afraid of injuring himself again. It looked as though he was putting on the brakes, not wanting to unleash his true ability. In 1996, Narita Brian began his campaign with renewed determination to stage a comeback, returning once again to the Hanshin Daishoten, just as he had the year before. Waiting for him, there was Mayano Top Gun, the reigning horse of the year, who had captured both the Kika Show and the Arima Kinen in 1995. In fact, he was the very horse who had defeated Brian in his most recent start, the Arima Kinen. It was the clash of 2 horses of the year. Despite being only a Saturday, nearly 60,000 fans packed Hanshin Racecourse to witness the showdown. The race turned into a head-to-head duel. Narita Brian tracked Mayano Top Gun closely, just a length behind. With 1,000 meters remaining, Mayano Top Gun quickened, and Brian immediately went with him. By the 600-meter mark, the 2 champions were locked side by side, and from there to the finish, it was an unrelenting battle. The rest of the field could not keep up. By the wire, the gap from the top 2 to the others had stretched to 9 lengths. The final 1,000 meters was covered in a blistering 57.8 seconds. When great horses push each other, extraordinary times are produced. The 2 hit the line together, so close it was impossible to tell who had won at first glance. But Narita Brian's nose was in front, and he claimed his long-awaited first victory in over a year. This race has since been remembered by fans as a classic duel. Yet opinions remain divided. Some argue, what's so great about a G2 race when neither horse was at their absolute best? Others say, in his prime, Narita Brian would have left Mayano Top Gun far behind. The only reason it looked like a great battle was because Brian was no longer at his peak. After his performance in the Hanshin Daishoten, many believed Narita Brian was fully back, and in his next race, the Tenno-sho Spring, he was sent off as the favorite. Once again, it was a rematch with Mayano Top Gun. Narita Brian ran in a way that reminded fans of his prime, sweeping wide around the final corner to draw level with the leaders. In the stretch, it became yet another head-to-head battle between Mayano Top Gun and Narita Brian. This time, Brian quickly took the lead. It seemed at last that his long-awaited return to G1 glory was about to be realized. But from far behind, a horse came surging with tremendous speed. Sakura Laurel. With a devastating late charge, Sakura Laurel swept past Brian, relegating him to second place. The victorious Sakura Laurel would go on to join Mayano Top Gun in dominating Japan's middle and long-distance scene, marking the dawn of a new rivalry at the very top. After the Tenno show, Narita Brian's connections set their sights firmly on the Takarazuka Kinen. As a prep, however, they made a surprising choice: the Takamatsunomiya High, a 1,200-meter sprint G1. For a proven middle and long-distance runner to step into a sprint race was highly unusual and generated enormous attention. And yet, Narita Brian showed his class. Though he could easily have been beaten soundly, he unleashed a late rally from the rear to finish fourth. That effort also boosted his career earnings, pushing his total to 1,026.91 million yen, the highest in Japanese racing history at the time, surpassing the record previously held by Majiro McQueen. But just about a month later, on June 19, 1996, tragedy struck. Narita Brian was diagnosed with tendinitis in his right foreleg. Trainer Okubo expressed his strong desire to bring him back, declaring, "I want to see him return no matter what." Yet bowed tendon injuries are among the most serious and career-threatening for racehorses. After much discussion among connections, the decision was made to retire him. Thus ended the career of Narita Brian, the Triple Crown champion, the monster with the shadow roll. His final record stood at 21 starts, 12 wins, including 5 G1 victories. After retirement, he entered stud, entrusted with passing on his legacy to the next generation. As befitted a Triple Crown winner, many high-quality mares were sent to him, eager to carry on his bloodline. Among his mares were some of the finest in Japan, classic-winning fillies such as Ara Hotoku and Fight Gallibur, elite imported broodmares like Agsan, the dam of Biwa Heidi, and Momiji Dancer, the dam of Marvelous Sunday, and from domestic lines, Scarlet Bouquet and many others of top pedigree and proven class. Yet the role of passing down his illustrious bloodline ended far too soon. On June 17, 1998, Narita Brian was struck with colic. The diagnosis revealed an intestinal obstruction. Though he initially showed signs of recovery, on the afternoon of September 26th, he was seized once more by violent colic. He was rushed for treatment, but by then his stomach had ruptured. Even emergency surgery could not save him. On September 27, 1998, the monster with the shadow roll, Narita Brian, was humanely euthanized. He was just 8 years old, his life cut tragically short. His career at stud lasted only 2 seasons. In that time, he covered a total of 187 mares. But sadly, none of his progeny rose to lasting prominence. The bloodline of a great Triple Crown champion ended before it could establish a legacy of its own. Narita Brian shone with an intensity compressed into far too short a span. Yet even 30 years later, his performances remain vivid in the hearts of racing fans. To all of you watching, I urge you, seek out Narita Brian's races. Each time you watch, his brilliance will stir your heart anew. That's all for this time. If you want to learn more about Japan's great racehorses, please subscribe to this channel. I've also started channel memberships. There aren't many perks, but if you enjoy this channel and simply want to support it, feel free to join. Thank you.